You'll hear many say, after my 50th year, I'll retire to a life of leisure. My 60th year will bring release from all my duties. And what guarantee, may I ask, do you have that your life will last longer? Who will allow those arrangements of yours to proceed according to plan? Are you not ashamed to keep for yourself only the remnants of your existence, and to allocate to philosophical thought only that portion of time which can't be applied to any business? How late it is to begin living just when life must come to an end. What foolish obliviousness to our mortality to put off wise plans to our 50th and 60th year and to want to begin life from a point that few have reached. In his Shortness of Life, Seneca is acutely aware of two things: the uncertainty of the distant future and the finite amount of time we have. And when we go through his writings, he may not only sound harsh, but almost paranoid to a degree. Of course, we have to keep in mind that he's talking from a perspective of a person in ancient Rome 2000 years ago, when the world looked radically different and when premature deaths were fairly common. Nowadays, the situation has mostly changed for the better, as only a small percentage of people in developed countries die prematurely each year. But does that mean we should completely disregard what Seneca says? Should we feel at ease in our strivings to secure a retirement that brings a promise of spending our days in peaceful bliss? Well, not exactly. You see, in the US, 69.5% of adults aged 55 to 64 will begin suffering from at least one chronic condition. Across the ocean in the EU, people may also expect to live healthy lives, meaning disability-free, up to the age of 64. Then there's the fact that most people retire at 66 or 67 in the US, and from around 60 to 65 in the EU, with the trend moving toward US levels. If we compare the average retirement age with a healthy life expectancy, we can see that when or if we reach retirement, the quality of life for most of us will be at best diminished. So Seneca's points still stand, as no one can guarantee our mental or physical health will stay in good shape when we reach advanced age. To remedy this, what does Seneca propose? Should we be constantly preoccupied with as many activities our bodies can endure? Or, on the other hand, does Seneca prefer a path of unchained hedonism, where giving in to our vices in order to experience a maximum amount of short-term pleasure is the ultimate ticket out of this life? Well, this is how he puts it. To sum up, everyone agrees that no one area of activity can be successfully pursued by someone who is preoccupied. Rhetoric cannot, nor can the liberal arts, since the distracted mind takes in nothing really deeply, but rejects everything that is, so to speak, pounded into it. Nothing is less characteristic of a man preoccupied than living. There is no knowledge that is harder to acquire. Instructors of other disciplines are to a penny. Indeed, mere boys have been seen to master some of these disciplines so thoroughly that they could even be masters in the classroom. But learning how to live takes a whole lifetime, and you'll perhaps be more surprised at this. It takes a whole lifetime to learn how to die. To Seneca, cramming our schedules with endless activities, being overwhelmed by various endeavors, and not having the time to actually think about our lives is almost as equally unproductive as indulging in instant pleasures and being addicted to overstimulation. He sees these behaviors as distractions from focusing on pursuing better things. So he calls for finding time to search for understanding and defining what we really want from life, ideally prior to retirement. Seneca sees great value in gaining this knowledge, so he states, "You really ought to leave ground level and turn your mind's eye to these studies. Now, while enthusiasm is still fresh, those with an active interest should progress to better things. In this mode of life, much that is worth studying awaits you. The love and practice of the virtues, forgetfulness of the passions, knowledge of how to live and to die, and deep repose." Seneca singles out our natural curiosity and combines it with the urge to seek wisdom and practice it. But he also sees relevance in changing how we engage with the passing of time. To quote, "But for those who forget the past, disregard the present, and fear for the future, life is very brief and very troubled." Because the past, for Seneca, can be a great tool, not only for examining our personal history, but also for learning from the greatest of teachers. So he states, "We are led by the work of others into the presence of the most beautiful treasures, which have been pulled from darkness and brought to light. From no age are we debarred, we have access to all. And if we want to transcend the narrow limitations of human weakness by our expansiveness of mind, there is a great span of time for us to range over. We can debate with Socrates, entertain doubt with Carneades, be at peace with Epicurus, overcome human nature with the Stoics, and go beyond it with the Cynics. Since nature allows us shared possession of any age, why not turn from this short and fleeting passage of time and give ourselves over completely to the past, which is measureless and eternal and shared with our betters?" Next is the present, for which Seneca states, If you don't seize the day, it slips away. Even when you've seized it, it will still slip away. And so you must compete with time's quickness in the speed with which you use it. And you must drink swiftly as if from a fast-moving torrent that will not always flow. And considering the future, we can see from the beginning of this video that Seneca's attitude about it is very clear. The future is unpredictable, so he takes care not to rely on it and not to preoccupy himself with it too much. Instead of fearing it or hoping for a better life in the distant future, he is more intent on planning each day as it comes and focusing his actions on the present. And as a result, the person who devotes every second of his time to his own needs and who organizes each day as if it were a complete life neither longs for nor is afraid of the next day. For what new kind of pleasure is there that any hour can now bring? Everything has been experienced, everything enjoyed to the full. For the rest, fortune may make arrangements as it wishes. His life has already reached safety. Addition can be made to this life, but nothing taken away from it. And addition made in the way that a man who is already satisfied and full takes a portion of food which he doesn't crave and yet has room for. But not relying on the future, not waiting for retirement to start experiencing life more deeply can be very challenging. The same goes for bringing awareness to the present and acting consciously in this moment. Moreover, striving to achieve the resulting peace of mind may be further slowed down by some of our ambitions, one such being our want for fame. This next video shows that the reality of popularity may be very different from what we think of it at first glance, and choosing to settle for something much less extravagant may be just as fulfilling.